So love it or hate it, some Chiefs players will soon be packing up their bags and moving on from Kansas City if they don't ball out during these upcoming preseason games. Well, in today's video, I want to take a look at the state of the roster and share the players that are in danger of being cut or even traded if they fail to meet expectations. Then I want to also process through some of the key position groups and battles that will be worth keeping eyes on over the next couple of weeks based on how training camp has gone so far. So let's talk about it. But first, how about those? All right, so some of you might be tuning in to tomorrow's preseason game, Chiefs versus Cardinals, and think, what the heck am I supposed to be watching? Who is on the bubble? What am I looking for here? Well, there are some players that need to stand out or their jobs could be in jeopardy, so I'm just going to kind of go both sides of the ball and just talk about some of the most intriguing battles that I'm going to be watching in this game. First, I want to watch the ones, of course, the starters. I want to watch the O-line. How does Josh Simmons look in his limited reps? What about Kingsley Suamataia? That's probably the biggest one on the line. I really want to see have some positive reps. You traded away Joe Thuney to the Chicago Bears, who was arguably a top 3 guard at his position, especially in pass protection. And now you have Kingsley at the left guard spot, and he's never played guard before. Obviously, he's had some positive reps. The coaches are high on him, but that is the one spot along that line. When you look at Simmons, Kingsley, Creed, you know what you got in Creed. You know what you got in Trey Smith. Jawan Taylor is most likely right tackle. He's been trading reps out, splitting reps rather, with Jalen Moore, but I think that's more because Jawan Taylor had the offseason knee cleanup procedure, and they are slowly working him back in and ramping him up. I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of split reps either in this game tomorrow between Jalen Moore and Jawan Taylor. But again, the left guard spot is the biggest one for me on that line. The running back room is a bit of an intriguing development here because I think Elijah Mitchell has fallen down the depth chart here in recent weeks when the pads came on at training camp. So he is a guy that I said, hey, he's probably making the roster, but I'm not so sure anymore. I think it's really a battle between Carson Steele, who, would make the roster as a fullback, and Elijah Mitchell. So the question is, do they roll with 4 running backs, no fullback, or does Carson Steele make the cut? I think Steele has a legitimate chance at making the roster. Elijah Mitchell reportedly, multiple beat reporters have said, doesn't have the burst, the speed that the Chiefs were hoping he would have after coming off of the season-ending hamstring injury. So he's one that has fallen down the ranks. Carson Steele, meanwhile, has kind of climbed up the ranks a little bit. He's gotten some first-team reps in, has made some standout plays here and there, but that's a battle to watch. Carson Steele, Elijah Mitchell, who has a better, more consistent performance this preseason. The wide receiver room is a bit interesting. You do have Rice probably starting the season suspended. I saw Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated recently say, I think this morning, that the Chiefs are preparing, bracing themselves for a 4 to 6 game suspension. So with that, Rice probably starts suspended. He's on the reserve suspended list, not necessarily on the 53-man roster to start. That gives some of these other guys opportunities to shine and to show off. But even with Rice suspended, I do not think Sky Moore makes this roster. And I know, Cole, don't talk about Sky Moore. Well, he's on the roster. I'm going to talk about him and some others, but when you have Tyquan Thornton showing out and having the camp he's had, and then Nico Remigio providing the value that he does on special teams as the returner, I think your 6 wide receivers are probably going to be, again, with Rice suspended, Hollywood, Worthy, Juju, Royals, Tyquan Thornton, and Nico Remigio. Sky, he's probably going to have to ball out at preseason, all these games maybe, and he could be a potential trade candidate. The tight end room is intriguing as well because Jared Wiley is still ramping up after tearing his ACL last year. He's not going to start out on the PUP list or anything like that. Then you have Jake Brenningstool, the UDFA out of Clemson. He played a lot out of the slot last year. He was one of my favorite signings, to be honest with you, after the draft, but he's had a hamstring injury all camp long, won't be playing. Meanwhile, the 31-year-old veteran Robert Tonyan has stacked a bunch of good days. He's had a great camp. He's made a bunch of one-handed catches, just been very valuable, dependable. So he is one to watch to actually make the 53-man roster, even though he is a vested veteran. Meaning, on cutdown day, the Chiefs could release him instead of waive him. He could sign to the practice squad, not having to clear waivers at all, and then have multiple call-ups, and that's the route they could go. They've done that with Blake Bell in the past, so we'll see. But for right now, watch that tight end room and see how Robert Tonyan does, and then let's see if Jake Brenningstool can get healthy and have any chance to show what he has during these preseason games. And if not, I would stash him on IR like the Chiefs kind of did with Justin Ross his first year. He had a legitimate foot injury, but they put him on IR for the year and let him cook in the system. And that's what I would like to see from Brenningstool if that hamstring is bad enough. Now for the defense, when you look at the D-line, the main things I want to see there is Omar Norman-Lott to have some great flashes. I don't know how much he's actually going to play in the preseason, but the more the merrier for all of these rookies, really. So I want to watch Omar Norman-Lott. I want some positive wins, pressures on the quarterback, sacks. You drafted him in the second round. He needs to show up and show out pretty quickly here, especially if he's playing against backups. And then I do want to see something from Felix Anudike-Uzomah. The Chiefs drafted him in the first round a couple years ago when the draft was in KC. Well, he was a guy that was a bit of a gamble when you drafted him. Young, needed to develop. Well, he's entering year 3, and he's currently 3rd on the depth chart, even behind Ashton Gillotte right now, who the Chiefs just drafted. So for me, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, I don't know that his job is literally on the line. I don't think the Chiefs would cut him. You're not probably cutting a first-round pick that you just drafted a couple years ago, but he really needs to ball out, in my opinion. I'm not going to rule out the idea of a trade, just like with Sky Moore. You show him off a lot in the preseason and then try to get a team to bite on a former first-round pick. I don't love the idea of that. I think I would like to see FAU and how he does year 3, but the coaches are the ones evaluating these guys play in and play out, and I need to see FAU make some plays, please. The linebacker room, we know most of the locks. You've got Drew Tranquill, Nick Bolton, Leo Chanel, Jack Cochran, and Jeffrey Bossa. I would think all 5 of those guys make the roster, but if they go with a 6th linebacker, it's a big battle here between Cole Christensen, Cam Jones, Brandon George, and Cooper McDonald. So I would watch out for some of those linebackers and see who makes plays, because it's basically 4 guys fighting for one job right now. In the cornerback room, Joshua Williams, I think, is in trouble if he doesn't make some plays or at least show consistency, because he's fallen down the depth chart. You have Christian Fulton recently coming off the PUP list as he continues to rehab from the offseason knee cleanup procedure that he had back in March, April, whenever it was. The Chiefs signed him, then he needed that knee worked on, and he's back. So Joshua Williams falls down 1 position on the depth chart. And when I say Fulton is back, he's still working and rehabbing, not going to be playing in at least the first couple of preseason games. But Joshua Williams, he didn't play any snaps in the playoffs, and he's been working mainly with the 2nd and 3rd team during preseason, hasn't really rotated with the 1st team defense at all. So Joshua Williams is a guy to watch. And then I do want to see the 3rd round pick, Noel Williams. He's going to take some time, I think. Spags has made it sound like it's been an adjustment period for him. I don't have a lot of expectations for him this year, more for the future, but I do want to see if he can make some plays this preseason against some backup wide receivers. And then regarding the safety room, I don't know how many reps Jaden Hicks is going to get out there, but I would like to see some flashes from him several times, because he's supposed to be the guy that's taking the role of Justin Reed, who just left to the Saints on a 3-year deal this offseason. Big shoes to fill. I'm not extremely concerned, but I do want to see a great showing from the safety room as a whole, yes, but especially Jaden Hicks. And then for special teams, it's really, hey, can Brashard Smith, I didn't really mention him in the running back room because I'm not really sure what to do with that guy right now. I think he makes the roster, yes. He's the only running back under contract outside of this year. You had Pacheco on the last year of his deal, Kareem Hunt's on a 1-year deal, as is Elijah Mitchell. But I think Brashard Smith can have some value there on special teams and then niche packages on the offense as a receiver. He's a receiver turned running back, 1 year in college, needs some time to develop, I really think, in the running back room. But special teams could be your kick returner, could maybe be your punt returner. If he shows enough promise on punt returns, Nico Remigio's job could be in jeopardy. I do want to see how that plays out first, because Dave Toub said, hey, Nico Remigio is the returner. He's head and shoulders above everybody else right now. But if you have Tyquan Thornton really balling out on offense and the Chiefs want to go with 1 less receiver upon even Rashee Rice's return, Nico Remigio is the most quote-unquote expendable receiver from the offense's perspective. However, if he goes nuclear in the preseason once again on special teams as the punt returner, it's going to be really hard to justify letting Nico Remigio go, and that's why right now he's making the roster to me, and Brashard Smith would have to just be absurd back there on punts in order to usurp the pecking order of Nico Remigio being head and shoulders above everybody else as the team's punt returner. Those are my thoughts on the state of the roster and what to be watching for during some of these preseason games. You guys got to let me know where you agree or disagree with me, and then just let me know in the comments, who are you most wanting to watch, and who do you think really has to ball out in order to keep their spot on the 53-man roster locked up? Let me know either way in the comments down below, and until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?